If someone had told me when I was a child that one day I would travel to a place as remote as Antarctica, I would have not believed them, despite the fact that I was always known for dreaming big. Then again, when I was a kid, Oceanwide expedition did not exist yet. But now, everything is changed. Here we are in Ushuaia, Argentina, the southernmost city in the world, or better known as Fin del Mundo. We are about to board our vessel, the Plancius, heading to Antarctica for an adventure of a lifetime, so let's go! I'm here with Rini van Meurs, the expedition leader on board the Plancius. This is the maiden voyage of Oceanwide Expeditions' Basecamp Plancius expedition, where one can do so many activities. Rini, what can one do?
Almost everything which is possible in Antarctica. You can be a regular passenger and make landings and make walks and look at the wildlife. But if you're particularly interested in photography, you can join a photographer for photography interpretations, for suggestions, for questions. You can do diving. We have dive masters, very experienced dive masters on board, dry suit dive masters, of course. And you can go kayaking if you don't want to be in the zodiac with the noise of the engines, if you want to be absolutely peace and quiet among the icebergs or somewhere away from the ship, everybody else, you can go with a small group kayaking. And close to the water, close to nature. You can go on climbing. We have some very experienced climbers on board that take people for rather technical climbing, and we do snowshoeing. In Antarctica is a great place for, there are these huge domes of safe glaciers covered in snow, and we give the people snowshoes, and they can go snowshoes hike for great views and for the whole experience. If people want to leave the comfort of the warm ship, if they want to experience a night in Antarctica, temperatures of around zero, around freezing or just below, we provide on the ship really warm sleeping bags, double layered sleeping bags, tents that can withstand winds because the wind can pick up anytime. We have special guides who have done this a lot, and they look after the people, and so they can go off the ship, and at night they can hear the penguins in the background, they hear ice carving. So they don't hear the engines of the generators of the ship, they're just there in the wilderness. A trip to Antarctica is not a cruise on the Mississippi or in the Mediterranean. You will see that Antarctica is pure wilderness. Nature is in charge. You don't take a trip in Antarctica, Antarctica takes you on a trip.
The journey from Ushuaia to Antarctica takes about 2 days. But this time is well spent with lectures and briefings from our activity group leaders. The guides and crew here on the Plancius have a world of experience in the Arctic Circle as well as in Antarctica, so I feel like I'm in good hands. As we near the South Shetland Islands, we are getting our first glimpse of icebergs. Throughout the trip we encounter icebergs of every shape and size. I never imagined that icebergs would be such a striking shade of blue. Though icebergs float on salt water, they are composed of fresh water. Antarctica has about 90% of the world's ice and approximately 70% of the world's fresh water. During our 2.5-day crossing to Antarctica, I enjoy spending time in the spacious lounge where I get the most spectacular view of the ocean and the glaciers. Our first land excursion takes us to Port Lockroy, which is a natural harbor on the Antarctic Peninsula. In 1944, the main building was established and acted as a British research station until 1962. After years of abandonment, the buildings were restored in 1996 and now is home to a museum and post office operated by the United Kingdom Antarctic Heritage Trust.
I'm gonna write a postcard and send it home to my mom because this is the southernmost post office in the world, so worth doing it.
The Gentoo penguin is the primary resident here. They are easily identified by the white stripe that extends over their heads and their bright red-orange bills. Penguins breed in large colonies called rookeries. There is tons of penguin chicks everywhere because it is the end of the summer. They will drive mom and dad nuts with their constant begging for food. Much like other birds, the parents regurgitate food into the chick's beak.
Antarctica is the coldest, driest, windiest continent on the whole planet. As well, on average, it has the highest elevation.
Our lucky penguin friends have a thick layer of blubber and a dense coat of waterproof plumage to help keep them comfortable even in these ice-cold waters. The chicks are born with a thick layer of down. They will need to shed this shaggy coat before they can swim. I could sit here for hours with these adorable penguins, but I'm feeling the need for some activity since I signed up for almost everything that was offered on this expedition.
Going kayaking.
Are you excited?
Very excited.
Oceanwide expeditions provide state-of-the-art kayaks and dry suits which allow me to comfortably soak in my surroundings without worrying about getting wet.
What better vantage point to see the wildlife and the glaciers in Antarctica than from a kayak?
As far as I can see, everything is covered in snow and ice. It is incredibly intense. I am spellbound by the fact that I'm in the last pristine, untouched continent in the world. We stumble upon a crab-eater seal who is napping on his slab of ice. I think he just wants to go back to sleep, so we leave him alone. The ice layer in Antarctica is estimated to be over 4,500 meters thick. It is so heavy that it pushes the land beneath it far below sea level. Occasionally, I cross paths with penguins, and boy do they glide through the water effortlessly. A far cry from their waddling on the rocks. After a few hours of paddling around, it's time to head back to the Plancius and recharge myself before I venture off on the next activity.
The espresso machine is my best friend because with all these activities planned, napping is not an option. Adjacent to the lounge is the library, where they have a vast collection of books on Antarctica in numerous languages, as well as they have computers where we can download our pictures from the day's activities.
During our journey, we came across unexpected treats like this humpback whale encounter. The two whales actually hang out by the Plancius for over an hour. They poke their heads out of the water, trying to get a closer look at us. They seem just as curious about us as we are of them. Having rested up, it's time to have a little land-based activity and stretch my legs.
Now I'm getting ready to go snowshoeing in Damoy Point. What a way to work off lunch.
As I plant my feet into the virgin snow, I'm reminded that here in Antarctica there are no permanent residents. While there are approximately 1,000 to 5,000 residents here staffing the 35 research stations, there is no one who can call themselves a citizen of Antarctica. Without all of our modern world distractions, I feel like my senses are opening up and allowing me to truly soak in my surroundings and the pure beauty of Mother Nature.
I'm so hot and sweaty. I'm hungry again.
This continent truly is a haven for the ambitious traveler who wants to escape civilization. As Ernest Shackleton said, it is the last great journey left to man. After we reach the crest of the hill, a number of my companions decide that hiking down might be too strenuous for them. So they opt for an alternative mode of descent. After a long day of exploring the White Continent, we sat out in the tents that Oceanwide expeditions provide us with for a night on the beach.
The idea of camping in Antarctica didn't really seem appealing to me at first. But I have to admit it was one of the coolest things we have done on this trip. I wasn't cold at all. And there is just something so cool about waking up in the morning to penguins at your doorstep.
But we'll come back to these guys later. First, I want to explore this island a bit.
The snow is a palette of red and green. Do you know why? Because the penguins had a big party here last night. It's breathtaking how this fog contributes to the mystery of Antarctica.
We're trying not to hit the ice. As we cascade across the bay and maneuver through the ice, I feel like it is time to see what is beneath the water. There is so much mystery and intrigue on the surface. I can't wait to see what surprises are in store. It's time to go scuba diving.
I'm here with Kevin Murray, who is the dive guide on board the Plancius. Kevin, what would you consider proper equipment for diving in ice-cold waters?
You would want a good quality dry suit. You would want good quality cold water regulators, which you're familiar with their use and you're familiar with how to breathe from them properly and so on. And I think giving extra consideration to your head and hand protection is another thing. I think first of all a diver has to have a very responsible attitude because we're diving in an extremely remote location and it's a very, very challenging environment. So I think they have to have the right attitude, the right brain.
What kind of things a diver can expect to see while diving in Antarctica?
There's a lot of surprises diving in Antarctica. People look at the shore and they see snow, rock and ice. They don't expect there to be much below the waves. But when you get down there, you've got many different plants. So we have kelp and other types of algae, and those plants support other forms of life. They provide homes for starfish. They are homes for urchins. They are home for sponges. They all grow in and around these plants. And then we have bigger things, obviously, like penguins and seals.
So excited! Let's go find some penguins and seals and go dive. As we head out to our first dive, I feel a rush of anticipation mixed with a hint of hesitation. I grew up ice diving in Hungary, but this is a whole new extreme for me. The cold rushes to meet me as I hit the water. The average water temperature here is -2 Celsius. It is just bordering on freezing, so it has a gelatinous feel to it. It takes me a couple of minutes to adapt to the environment. As soon as I acquaint myself with my frigid surroundings, I find myself overwhelmed with the enormity of this iceberg. Often, only 20% of an iceberg is above water, so while they look huge on the surface, they appear even more colossal underwater. The key to diving around icebergs is being able to identify safe ones to dive next to. Luckily, Kayaking and Oceanwide expeditions have scouted out some stable ones for us to dive next to that should not collapse or roll over onto us. These dimples in the icebergs give you the impression that someone has taken an ice cream scoop to them. A real departure from their smooth surfaces up topside. One of my fellow divers suggested that the refraction of sunlight underwater is responsible for the curious texture. While I sense a tinge of isolation, it also feels very peaceful. An atmosphere of tranquility embraces me. Elsewhere, I encounter massive fields of red kelp. While I have done extensive diving in the green kelp forests of New Zealand and California, this red kelp is like nothing I have ever seen before. I encounter a wide variety of sea life that inhabits the kelp. And here comes my little buddies, the Gentoo penguins. They rocket through the water like they have been shot out of a cannon. I wish they would stay still so that I could take a picture. These penguins are said to have a top swimming speed of 36 kilometers per hour. As I travel along the extensive kelp bed, I start to feel like I'm attending an underwater red carpet Hollywood event. And of course, every event needs a star, which in this instance is a fur seal who sneaks up behind me. At first, I have no clue he is there, but luckily he persists in getting my attention. And fortunate for me, he is much more accommodating in posing for pictures than his fine feathered friends. Any nation that is a member of the United Nations may join the Antarctica Treaty. Its primary purpose is to ensure, in the interest of all mankind, that Antarctica shall continue forever to be used exclusively for peaceful purposes and shall not become the scene or object of international discord. This prohibits military activity except in support of science. Antarctica is an amazing place in many ways, but in particular, it is one of the most peaceful places I have ever been. Writer, conservationist Bill McKibben described Antarctica as this planet's greatest margin, its strangest edge. And I could not agree more. I feel very blessed to have had this experience with Oceanwide expeditions. Don't just dream about being here, be here.
With a flash or without?